So Robbie actually is the founder of Nando's and ran Nando's for 25 years, right? Still very involved, but also involved in lots of crazy other things as well. So today I'm going to start off with some questions from my side, if you don't mind, Robbie. And then I'm going to open the floor to you guys to ask any questions that you'd like. So maybe, so I've told you...
So thanks for having me, eh?
Thanks. Okay, welcome. So maybe because of our...
A bunch of clever people look at that. I can see from the eyes, eh?
I think they're pretty alright.
Thanks for the confidence.
So I'm maybe going to start off. So I told you our theme for this month is taking risks. So I mean, more than, I think 1987 started Nando, if I'm right. So maybe maybe I can start with, how did it come about? And it must have been also quite a risk to take and to start this new company. And I know you found the founding from the Eindhovens and all that, but maybe if you can share with us kind of how it came about and
Sure.
just the journey.
So let me go back a little bit. I think I failed varsity. I failed accountancy. I did BCom and I tried to do a CA. And I failed accounts 3-4 times. Or accounts 4-3 times. I can never remember. I'm not good with numbers. So I can't remember which one.
That's right.
I couldn't, and I was also a good salesman. I mean, I could sell stuff. When I was at varsity, I basically put myself through university selling clothing, and I used to get seconds from Pierre Cordon jerseys, in fact, like the second season stuff. So I was always trading and buying stuff and selling stuff. And so when I failed the BCom, CA, I knew that I wasn't going to become an accountant. And so I joined my dad's firm, and he was the distributor of Sanyo. And I worked there for a while, and I hated that. I really, really hated it. And so I left him because I just felt also that he was part of a bigger group, and I was like, I just felt I couldn't be part of a group. And so on the 1st of April, I left him, and on the 9th of April, my first son was born. So my wife was pissed with me, like properly pissed off. And I didn't know what I was going to do. When I think about it, I can't believe I did that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, when you look back, you can think, but like at the time, I was so frustrated that I left, and I thought I'm going to back myself and just buy and sell. And literally just bought, I started things like TV trays, taking, getting little characters and put them on TV trays and go and sell that to checkers and Pick and Pay and stuff like that. Trying to be a broker in between, which I also felt I wasn't a good broker. So then I joined with Fernando, and we found this little Portuguese place, and I thought it would just be an investment. It was called Chicken Land, and I thought I would just go there and invest a little bit in the business and go on a Monday morning, collect cash, and the rest would be just, that's how business worked. And I didn't know. And what I then did, what I found was that instead of on a Monday going to collect cash, on a Monday I had to go put money in, because you don't realize that businesses are hungry, they need cash. But what I then found was I actually loved the food business. So the more I got involved in the business, the more I found that I just loved what I was doing. And that was in September, so it was about 6-7 months after I left my dad, is when we actually bought into Chicken Land. And I thought, as I said, it was going to be investment, and then I found that I loved it. And through that kind of love of the business, it just grew from there. And so like my biggest lesson that I learned personally is that just do something that you enjoy. And you don't know really what you're going to enjoy until you try various things. I didn't enjoy working for my dad, and Sanyo Electronics wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy being a trader in between people, buying and selling. So I felt that I wanted to create a brand that I could be the master of my own destiny on that brand, and therefore not reliant on the Japanese or Pick and Pay. Because if my dad's business was Sanyo, you're between the Japanese and the Pick and Pay. You've got a small margin in between. You never your own master, and I felt that I wanted to create a brand that we could determine. And so when I look back, that's like, but shit was risky. I mean, properly risky. I think when I think about it, my son is exactly Nando's age, you know. Because he was born on the 1st of April. Nando started effectively the 1st of September. And I think she was so mad at me. But that was the ultimate risk. When you've got a kid, you know, never really had that much of a foundation to really go back on. It wasn't saying that, you know, my whole family are all professionals. My brother's an accountant, my brother-in-law's a lawyer, all fucking suits, you know what I mean? There's got no profession to stand back on. And I think that's an important thing. Because then you feel like you've got to be a bit gritty, you know, you've got to be resilient. Because business is about resilience. It's not about, unfortunately I think, and I hate saying it because it makes me feel like an old topic, but it's about staying the distance and failing. And people say, you know, well, you've got to be resilient because you're going to fail.
Yeah.
The question is, people say, well, you know, I hate that when you say you're going to fail. It's not a question of failing, like, you failed. It's failing and up and failing and up and up. You know, so along the way, you've got a little failing, but it's admitting that you're failing, fixing it, moving on. Admitting, fixing, moving on. So,
but if you always stay in your comfort zone, if you never take a risk,
you're never going to get anything. Then you can't expect to do anything. You've always got to take a risk. I mean, now as the business has grown, our risk appetite has become less, and so you're less risky. But we still do take risks, but they're more calculated. As you get a bit bigger, you become a bit more. You think a bit more, I guess, and you start. You know, that's also not a good thing sometimes, because you think too much. You overthink stuff. And I think, you know, when you're young, like you guys out here, it's important to do stuff and to take those risks now, certainly now. And, you know, but I see even a guy 60 should take risks. If you're not happy in what you're doing, you've got to be happy. The key is if you're happy, if it feels like graft, then it probably is graft and you shouldn't do it. You've got to feel like you're not working. Because if you feel like you're not working, you're doing well, I can promise you. Because then you really shine. I think. I mean, that's maybe. Yeah, so I can only talk from my own experience, but you know, I'm not just an expert. Like, for fucking no, I mean, I'm telling you now. Trust me. I mean, you know, I'm only telling you an honest opinion from me, but it's not like I know anything.
But so let me maybe ask you guys, how many of you on a weekend or if you go home, you actually still on your computer just because you love it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, I think you guys are so privileged because you're doing what you love. When I saw it, you know, when I see here, the first time I came here, it was fantastic. And the energy, and then you're doing stuff that you love, and it's with you, and it's the future. You know, geez, I mean, it's like amazing.
So I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, but I want them to maybe more open it to you guys. But so I want to ask you also about your brand, and the Nando's brand is so strong. And I mean, I think there's no one in the room that we always look at the Nando's adverts and it's always on the forefront and it's pretty cool. You see, everyone knows. But also walking into your offices, I mean, there's just this, you can't explain it if you're not there. There's this incredible culture and it feels like a family, and it's just, how do you build that? I know it's not easy to answer, but...
Yeah, so the advertising started because we had no money. Okay? So we literally, you know, we had no money. Our competitors were huge. Our KFC, we perceived as a competitor in the early days, was a, and they still are. I mean, obviously they're huge, and we, you know, we're nothing in their life. But in the media world, and going back 25 years, media was very different to what it is today. Social media never existed. So today, social media is probably more powerful than traditional media. When you basically had TV 1, 2, 3, and I think a bit of Mnet, a couple of channels. It wasn't even many channels. So we had to, when we spent money on an ad, that ad had to be remembered. And to remember an ad, you had to be cheeky. And so we went to the ad agency at the time, which was called Hunter Scorers. Went to John Hunt, who's a genius.
Yeah.
Today, John is one of the most creative guys in the world.
John, by the way, created our Coding You for Success program.
Really?
Yeah, he came up. Oh, he helped us with the idea. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, amazing.
No, he's a genius. I mean, for me, he's the best,
Yeah.
one of the best in the world. And we went to him and said to him, as an agency, they were a young agency, and we were, you know, we had 2 restaurants. We were nothing. We said, we want you to do advertising that makes you world famous. Because then we'll become world famous. So let's, you guys take your, you know, give it the best shot. And when you go to an ad agency and you say to them, you go and do creative stuff, they love that. And so that's how the Nando's brand started. I mean, we didn't do it through a Harvard business case or sit down one day and do a strategy. It's because we had no money, we had to make an impact, and we said, look, can you do it? And what we found was that it was working. And so if we spent a rand, we would get 10 rands worth of kind of impact, because talk shows spoke about it, you know, Sunday papers carried stories, and they flowed through to the next. And the beauty of South Africa is that you're always getting content. You know? There's always stuff that you can talk about. You know, it's not boring. So it's not like there's always something that you can pick. So Nando's today is a social commentary brand, and it's very much about the expectation from us is to be cheeky, and we can do stuff because we've created. I always say that's like having 2 kids. If you've got 2 kids, probably most of you guys haven't got kids, but I've got 2 kids, I've got 3 kids, but the one's good and the one's naughty. And the naughty one gets away with everything. If the good one does something, gets a slap. Okay? Now the problem is that other companies that try to copy Nando's are the good kids, so they try and copy and then they get a slap. You know, but if you've always been a naughty, there's an expectation. Oh, that's Nando, so it's just like okay. there's an expectation from and we have that as a responsibility. In our London business, that opened through, they didn't go on TV and on advertising, they went on design. And so the kind of Nando's brand in London was built on design. Beautiful restaurants, beautiful design, they spent a lot of money on the restaurant. And that's how the brand started growing in London. But combined as a culture, I mean, from day one, I always knew that the restaurant business is a hard business. It's a tough business. It is the shittest business. If you don't like the restaurant business, it's the shittest business in the world. Because you're always working when people are playing. You always, you know, like every holiday when you've got a day off, also grafting. And it's, you know, Saturday night you're in the restaurant, and particularly if you want to run a successful restaurant, you have to be there. It's a very hands-on kind of experience. So, you know, it's something that we knew from day one that we needed to create. We wanted to be an inside-out brand. So we always say that it's a brand that the people create. It's a brand that you create from inside, and then you do great advertising. You bring people in, but if you haven't got good people, so we always had a very strong people orientation. And so we've spent a lot of time, a lot of money, again, trying to bring people together that enjoy being together. And that's been a strong, so our kind of strapline is that's the people that make the chicken. And so we're very people orientated. We spend a lot of time, effort, money on internal programs, recruiting, all that kind of stuff. And then you start doing external advertising. Now when we opened South Africa, there was external. We did 30-second TV. In London, we did store design. And now what we've done is we've combined the two. So we've actually started bringing more store design into South Africa. And our offices now are all designed by young South African designers. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. All our restaurants around the world are being influenced by South African design, South African young designers. And slowly we're starting to export more furniture. So we're creating industries in South Africa. We're using our global network as a platform for young South African talent. And that's been and it's only been the last 3 or 4 years. So it's very cool. So that's how we've managed to achieve that. And then those kind of projects feed into the culture of the business, and people feel proud to be part of a brand that is creating jobs in South Africa, that's doing stuff, but at the same time operating in a world-class environment in London or Chicago or Washington or Malaysia or Sydney in Australia. So, and it's world-class.
And so a third of your business is in South Africa?
No, about 25%.
25%.
I don't know the maths, but a third. That's 20.
That's close. Okay, and that's amazing.
But in terms of turnover, it's about 15%, because obviously you've got pound, the pound is strong.
So maybe then that leads on to my next question about what are you seeing for the country at the moment? So go a little bit broader. I know that you are very passionate about supporting young South African entrepreneurs. I mean, I think we should, if it's okay with you, we should organize a visit to your offices, because it's the most beautiful building that I've seen. So how do you see, and what do you think is important? How do you see the future of South Africa, and how do we actually encourage more South African entrepreneurs and people to start businesses? What do you think? What can we change? What can we do? And then what do you see as the future and the opportunities?
So I mean, I'm very optimistic about South Africa, just generally, and I also understand that there are challenges, and that, you know, politically it's it's quite, I'm very excited about what's happened over the last couple of days. I mean, I think the elections was interesting. I think that the coalition kind of discussions have been fascinating. And I mean, just broadly, we had free and fair elections, we had, no violence, we had no kind of corruption, or the IEC was independent. So these are enormous things for a young democracy like us. I think that we tend to get caught up a little bit in politics and the corruption of government and all that kind of stuff, which is disgusting, but it's there. And but it's not unique to South Africa. I mean, you don't think that American politics is not corrupt, or that French politics or Italian politics. I mean, it's just, there is a lot of corruption in politics. So I think that it's up to young entrepreneurs, up to guys like this, that are the lifeblood of any country. So young entrepreneurs are the key to the success of this country. And the more entrepreneurs that we can develop, the more entrepreneurs that can be that can emerge out of South Africa, the better. And I think that South Africa is a great place for entrepreneurs, because the intellectual, and particularly you guys, I mean, I don't know how smart you are. Some of you look smart, some don't. I'll tell you from the question. But the key is, I can tell you that the key is here, that the intellectual brain power that's here is probably equal, if not better, than the intellectual brain power around the world. Okay, because there's like a guy like John Hunt is world class. They are world class South Africans, and we sometimes tend to think we're not world class. It's almost like we're almost making an excuse that we're South Africans, so we're not as good as Americans or as British, but we are. And there is no reason why we're not, particularly intellectual capital, like this coding and stuff like this that I don't even understand, but I'm saying that I can promise you it's world class. And so there's no barrier for any of these guys to do anything to change the world, provided you think you're going to change the world. Because if you don't think you're going to change the world, you're not going to change the world, and you'll end up staying here. We've always taken a view, I mean, our kind of broad vision is to change the way the world thinks of Africa, okay? Because and even in our malaria work, it's changing the way the world thinks about Africa, because we're saying that why must it be up to the world to come and do philanthropic stuff in Africa? Why can't Africans do something creatively in a particular way that makes people sit back and say, shit, did that come from Africa? I mean, I get very excited when people look at Nando's and they say, it must be an American or a European concept. And we say, no, it actually emanated from South Africa. They say, it can't be.
Yeah.
So why not?
People from London, they're like, no, Nando's not South African.
No, it's not South African. Aussies, no, it's Aussie.
No, it
and
is.
I mean, I'm proud of the fact that they feel it's theirs, but I'm also proud of the fact that the energy and stuff came from here. And that there is no reason why we as South Africans can't change the world. And I think it's an important element to be able to do that and to have that belief or that self-belief. So I think that as young entrepreneurs in South Africa, it's a beautiful place to be in. Because if you go to Europe today, very difficult. America is very difficult. UK, very difficult. And the kind of support to entrepreneurs is there, but it's not. I think the energy here, the freshness, and the kind of can-do attitude, and the fact that we've been hammered so much here. Just like every day you're being hammered by shit and stuff. Just give me a break. You can wake up in the morning and there's a strike, there's no water, electricity, and by the night comes,
be ready for anything.
and the night is like, okay, something's happened, and you just fucking, someone who won the 400 meters, and you fucking now you ran with the oak, you know what I mean? So it's almost like you've got that, and whereas they don't. Around the world is pretty flat line, it carries on, so it goes. And that for an entrepreneur is a great place to be operating. So you've got to be, provided you're resilient, and that's the biggest challenge. I don't think you're going to get instant gratification. If you do, I mean, the problem is like idols is letting people believe that you can go from the street to hero in 10 seconds or in 3 months. That's not the reality. The reality is that it's going to take a long time to build magnificence. And that's just, maybe it's shorter now because of technology, but don't think that it's going to happen in 3 months or 6 months. It's not. I mean, it can, but you're bloody lucky. And I think that the longer it takes you to build a business, it took us 15 years at Nando's to actually get to the point that we felt we were safe, or relatively safe. Even today we don't think we're safe, because
But you shouldn't. Then you
No,
complacent.
shit,
and
I'll
you
tell
say,
you what,
"Ah,
we've got a saying, it's like, one day, it's an old Portuguese saying, it says one day you've got the cucumber in your hand, and the next day it's up your arse. I want to see it in my hand, I don't want anything else. Because that is what can happen to you. In a second. In a second, I promise you, walk out of here and leave it. So we're very scared. And so that's after 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, eesh. But we have fun. I also believe that you've got to have fun along the way. And every day, not every day, but most days, you've got to, well, 90% of the time, you've got to be having fun. Because life's too short not to enjoy what you're doing. And so, and that gets back to if you enjoy your work and that's it. But you've also got to create an environment that's fun. And that's what our officers create that environment. What you guys have done here is beautiful. It's very similar to us. You've got the same kind of vibe, the same feel in the inner city. Most people are running out of the inner city. If you had this in Rivonia or you had it in Sandton, it would be disgusting. For me, it would be, because
It feels real.
it feels real now. And it's you're part of a city that's emerging. You don't want to be part of a. That's why Nando's is in Troyville. We've stayed in Troyville for 28 years, and when we had the opportunity to move to Sandton, I was like, no chance. Like, I want to be in the street of Troyville, and if you don't want to come to us, then don't fucking come. And you walk with us. Because we've got
This
restaurants
guy is
in
real.
Hillbrow, we've got restaurants, in the roughest places, and if you can't be comfortable going there, then don't come and work for us. Because that kind of brand. We've got guys going to Saudi Arabia, we've got guys going to Dubai, Pakistan, and if they're scared to go to those places, then you don't come and work here. Because that's the kind of brand we are.
Oh, I think it's amazing.
So-
So maybe my last question before I let it open to the students is, how has this whole digital revolution, everything going tech, how has it affected your business? I mean, you showed me the amazing systems that you guys are building, but how has it affected? Has it affected? And how has it I know maybe from an advertising point of view, like you said, social media, but has it affected the way that you run your business?
So it's a very good question, and it's an answer I don't have. Okay, because we've got a work in progress. Because honestly, our technology was shocking. It was really bad. I mean, we brought in a new group technology, head of technology. Well, hoping will come here on one of these trips. And hopefully that's going to have a massive impact on our business. So we're almost going to skip, I'm embarrassed to almost say like 3 generations. You know what I mean? But because, and he's quite excited about that.
That is actually great.
Yeah, it's great. Because
You
he's
won't
saying,
have all this legacy.
yeah,
issues.
she's saying there's no legacy. It's just a question of, he's like looking at it and saying, how could you guys even run a business on this technology? Because we were so behind on some of the stuff. Because you get caught up in it, I don't know, you just didn't invest in it. We invested in a whole lot of other areas. Now we're investing in technology. So our vision is that technology is going to have a huge, huge, huge impact on our business. And it's got 2 impacts. One on the back of our house, all the admin stuff is going to be much quicker and much faster. And the other is on a customer interface, where we're looking at some really innovative customer interfaces with kind of eyes that as you walk into that, you can place your order, as before you even come in, and as you come in, it automatically places the order with kind of taking it off your credit card or, like an Uber kind of system. So that they're all
And
kinds
see
of...
when your chicken is arriving.
It's going to be very interesting in terms of the technology that you guys have promised us that we can get if we can achieve. And we're testing it in 1 or 2 markets. We're testing it in Washington at the moment.
Okay.
So we've got iPad ordering and various other kind of things. And, so it's quite interesting. But I think it's going to have a massive difference to the culture, because at the moment when guys lock up the restaurant and you do your close of day, it can take up to an hour and a half of admin, and they're promising us about 15 minutes worth of admin. So we really are archaic, so it gives people more time for family and more to get home earlier, which is a big impact for us. So we're very excited about the back end, and then the front end we think the customers are going to respond well.
Okay. Maybe we can ask if anyone has some cool ideas.
Yes, I want our IT people to come here.
Yeah.
And interact with you guys. So, I don't understand it, so I really don't, I'd be daily.
But I think...
But hopefully they're coming, I think.
Yeah, on the 8th.
On the 8th, yeah.
But I think also, and you were saying people in South Africa, we're used to the challenges, but that's why I think the solutions need to be created here. you know how it is to go and stand in a queue or order or whatever it is. So on the customer side, if you know the experience, then you can come up with a solution. So you're not going to find someone maybe sitting in Silicon Valley solving it for you. You need people who know how it is on the ground.
Yeah. And we do a lot of work in malaria, and
Yeah, maybe tell us a little
and
bit
that's
more
quite
about
interesting
that.
because we're using technology in that program, which has been fascinating. And
Okay.
it's the first time that technology is going to be used in a place like Mozambique. And that's a cool project for you guys to be involved in. So for example, we've got a spray program where you go and spray houses. So it's a program where we've got, it's called indoor residual spraying, where you come into houses and you spray the walls, and then you move on to the next house. Now what happened in the past is that the guys would go and spray, and they'd write out a little note, a little sticker that goes on the door, and then that would go onto an admin sheet, and then that sheet goes to the regional office, to the main office, and then by the time it gets to the head office, it's about a month later. And what we've developed is an app now where the spray guys can, as they spray a house, they just pump it in through the app, and then when they get back home, when they get back to the little regional hub that we create every day, that automatically goes to the cloud, and then we can sit and see little lights pop up of houses that have been sprayed instantly. And so it's a completely different kind of technology, and then all that admin gets put in, and it's just instant. It's a kind of instant reward in terms of how many houses we've sprayed. We've now got a dashboard. It's fascinating. So it's using technology in dusty Mozambique in the middle of nowhere. You'd never think that there's even a signal, but it doesn't matter because only when you get back,
it
picks it up and then it downloads it. So it's fascinating. So it's just so we've looked at how we can use technology to change the kind of not only so much the reporting, but the effectiveness of
efficiency
of the things. So we know how many houses have been sprayed, we know where to go next, and then they can report all kinds of stuff. It's fascinating.
That's amazing.
It's interesting and it's instant.
It's just the start. There's so
definitely.
much that you can do.
Definitely, and that's just the start.
And imagine we can eradicate malaria.
Yeah, so that'll be. So by us eradicating malaria in Mozambique, you definitely can assure that you're going to eradicate it out of South Africa. If you can't eradicate South Africa unless you eradicate Mozambique, because the Mozzies come across the border, and also guys come across the border. So if you get malaria in Mozambique, you come across the border to South Africa, you go.
And I never thought of it like that, but when I went to the Okavango, they said, no, you can't get malaria there because there's not enough people. It's not about the mosquito, it's actually the mosquito, your blood, my blood. That's how it
I
works.
get malaria in my blood, and then the Mozzie comes. Mozzie doesn't have malaria. It takes blood from me and gives it to you.
Exactly.
So there's no one around. It can't really pass it on. But in Mozambique, there's such a population, and that population then moves. And a lot of the Mozambicans come to South Africa, working here, and the more malaria there is in Mozambique, the more people that come across here, and the more South Africans that go there. It affects. So we need to clean up Mozambique, clean up South Africa, and that's why we've been focused on Mozambique. We also grow our peri in Mozambique. So we also, and also it's just a lack of project.
I see a lot of your amazing projects.
We go and have chicken on the beach, smoke a saw on the beach, and we say, and you say, what do you want? It's like,
it's a pretty cool life.
Saving lives has to be miserable, Our guys don't do that. At the same time, you're supporting a project where you're creating jobs and you have an impact, and then you bring in technology. And the key thing for me is that it's Africans sorting out an African problem. You're not relying on foreigners to fly in with their jets, coming in and saying, do this, do that, and then fly out again and leave instructions behind. We're doing it from the bottom. We love that kind of shit. We love operating in the muck. You know what I mean? It's like, my oaks are in and out of there all day. I've got to keep them out of Mozambique because I don't know what they
just want to go.
When you go there, anyway. It's lekker, I promise you, it's lekker.
It sounds amazing.
It's really lekker. And we're doing such good, That's the key, because you've got to focus on the good and the impact. So we've impacted 400,000 people. Well, this year, 250,000. Our target for this year is 400,000 people that will sleep well because they're protected from malaria. And then the impact of that on the economy, the impact on kids, because the problem is it affects mainly small kids. And those kids get stinted for the whole life. They get malaria as a kid. They're stinted for the rest of their life, and so they're almost at a disadvantage. If they survive, they get stinted. So you've just got it's just a horrible kind of disease, and it can be eradicated. Been eradicated from every other Western country, Italy, you know, America, everywhere had malaria, but they've somehow eradicated it, and yet, like, Mozambique is the last place to really deal with it. I mean, there is still a couple of other African countries, but somehow Africa hasn't really eradicated it, and we say, why not? So let's jump in and eradicate it. It's like a big audacious goal.
Right.
And then you just turn it into a fun thing, and the Oaks go and have a bit of fun. You know, it's lekker, and then you do good.
I love it.
You know, whatever we do, like at Nando's with the art or any project that we get involved in, it's not a CSI project. You know, CSI is, and that's why even our relationship with you initially was a CSI because we believed in you. We seriously believed in you. Because, you know, there's a history with us. not what you actually think. I wish, I'm still trying.
Yeah.
My brother, and my bud always rated her. My bud said, she is off the charts, smart. So when you came to see us and you said you got a vision, we said immediately, we're in, as you remember. Now, we took a punt on that, okay? And the vision for us, and we know that it's a startup and we know that it's going to take 2 or 3 years, but the vision for us to have a sustained relationship with you is that we can do good work together and that you actually embed yourself in our business. Because if you can do stuff for our business that does, you know, even if it's doing apps or even if it's malaria work or doing anything in our business, and when the time's right, you know, you can bring a team out and we can have, I've always said, let's have a team, let's give a project, you know, even an intern can come and work with us, I don't know where, and maybe an intern comes on a malaria project, and you say, well, what do we know about malaria? But you know what, come in with the mindset of coding, and you tell us what you can do from a coding point of view on this, or come in on a separate other project.
Solving a problem mindset.
With a different perspective. So you're coming from a completely different way. Work in a restaurant for a couple of days. See what you think you can add on. Yeah. And for me, so when we do that stuff, and then we support, so like the art, we support the art because we put art all around our restaurants. And we truly believe, that beautiful art in our restaurants makes our chicken taste better. and it does. I promise you.
It's an amazing environment.
You walk in, the environment is fresh, and you can also change the art around, and you feel like you've done a revamp. So it's a business decision, and then flowing from that business decision is a social responsibility that you're doing. But are you doing it only for the social responsibility? No. Are you doing it only for business? No. You're doing it for a collection of the two, and it's what we call shared common interest or shared common value. Where, you know what I mean? Because what's seemingly disconnected somehow connects.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's so many things.
There's so many
I'm
things.
sure we'll come up with some crazy ideas.
I don't even know where. You know, don't restrict your head to anything. You know,
that's what I like, and that's what I want to. That's what we want to encourage with our students here. Never to think inside the box.
Never.
I mean, that's why we have no teachers. Everything is problem solving. Come up with any crazy idea.
Crazy, and it's not like, you know, if you had to say to me 30 years ago that you're gonna be part of eradicating malaria from Mozambique by starting a restaurant chain. You know what I mean? Now, how did that dot get connected? Jeez, don't even ask. But the kind of influences that come at you, and then you change things and do things, and suddenly you know. Because also in business, and whatever you guys do, there's got to be a purpose to what you do. Because I can tell you, and I know you guys are going to look at me and say, you're talking shit. And you know, I know, but there's a point in your life where money is not that important. Okay? I know when I was starting the business, money was like the king. Hey, fuck me, you know. If I would do anything to keep the business alive, and we would do any deal, we would do all kinds of stuff. But when you get to a point where the money is not that important, or it is important to keep a sustained thing, but you don't need another thing or another thing. And especially for me, I'm not driven by another fancy car. I don't drive a fancy car, another car, or another house, or another thing. It doesn't. So you need to actually question yourself, like, what are you doing in this world? And for me, if you can have an impact on young people, or you can have an impact on saving malaria, or you can have an impact on creating jobs, or, you know, we've got 30,000 people in the Nando's world. We're going to create another 5,000 jobs this year, and not only in South Africa, in America, and all inspired out of Africa, with working with first offenders in Singapore. So guys that have been in jail in Singapore, and we're giving them a chance to graft, and it's all been inspired by the kind of way that we do things in South Africa. We're doing the same in London, working with the Prince Charles Trust. Same in America with the people, the Central Kitchen, which is also guys that have been made a bit of a mistake in life, they've come through a bit of a rehabilitation. We give them an opportunity. And that to us is an important element. So it's like, what are you impacting? I get more enjoyment from that, our impact on the artists, or impact on designers, or impact on malaria, than I do from the guys coming and saying, yes, we made extra profit. You need that extra profit because that keeps your business sustained. And if you don't make that extra profit, you do get grumpy because you do want to. It's a business that has to be robust and tight. You can't have an excuse that because we're doing that. Because it is a business, it's commercial. But if then you can do magnificent work. And so to me, the purpose of why you're doing stuff is critical.
I think purpose is so important.
Purpose is so important.
And that's going to make you love what you do every day.
Definitely.
Money is not.
It is.
It's going to help you to do.
It does. When you're starting out, it's important. But it's not important. I can tell you, if you have achieved the money bit, then it doesn't become as important. In fact, it can destroy you. It can be dangerous. I've seen a lot of people get destroyed. And I can tell you another thing is, like, I know a lot of guys that have made a lot of money, but they're complete assholes. And you don't want to be near them. There's nothing worse than, you know, a couple of people that have got so much money, and you just don't want to be around them. They haven't got mates, or everyone mates is trying to take money from them. You want to be in a position where a guy wants to talk with you because he likes being with you. You know what I mean? Not because of the money that you got. And you need to be able to live with that kind of, you know what I mean? It's not, because money doesn't, I promise you, if you think it's going to buy happiness, I mean, people say, I promise you, ultimately, it gets you into cuck. I can promise you, it does. Anyway.
Okay, thank you. So that was awesome. Okay, guys and girls, over to you. Questions?
Girls, give me a random question.
We are? Yes.
Okay, so I kind of, this is just something.
Sorry, I'll come back to you. I'm surprised you're still awake.
So just like a rumor that's like going on the internet, I don't remember where I heard it, could be the internet, that either you or your
Whatever you heard on the internet is true.
It's on the internet. It's definitely
false. That one of the founders, or the founder of Nando, is dyslexic. Is either you or your partner dyslexic?
But I did get a C. No, well, rumors not over.
As a young entrepreneur, what were some of your biggest challenges when starting out?
I mean, I think the big challenge was getting people to believe in us. You know, because here we are. I mean, I'm from the north of Joburg. I'm a Jewish boy getting involved in a Portuguese chicken chain in the south of Joburg. Guys are looking at me like, what? You know, where's your credibility? Even today, with us getting involved in malaria, people are looking and saying, what credibility has Nando's got with malaria? And so we're back to a startup again. And so getting people to believe, because it was so different, and because we were doing grilled chicken at the time, and everything was fried chicken. Everything was fried chicken. There was very few grilled chickens, and people didn't believe, like, what are you talking about grilled chicken? So it's getting the belief, people to look at you, that actually believe in you. But you yourself have to have that self-belief that you're on the right path, that you really believe that this can work. And if you stay with the course, it's gonna work. So that was probably trying to convince people that to back us. I was just saying to Ali now, we've just got confirmation that a big Swiss group has invested in our malaria project. And that's the first investor after 12 years. Eh? So we've done 9 years of some work in malaria, and then we did 4 years of Mozambique and stuff, very focused, but it's taken us 4 years to bring in an investor from overseas. And that's with the Nando's kind of, call it the shine of Nando's, because people look at me and say, what do you know? Yes, you've done this at Nando's, but what do you know about malaria? And so to get people to actually understand that it's not about malaria, it could be any disease. We've just taken a philosophy, but it's a question of getting that initial belief that as a young entrepreneur, because once you've got people to believe in you, people will invest in you and will support you. A lot of people say that money starting out, money is the thing, and if I had more money, I can, that's what's stopping me back is money. That's not true, okay? Because I can promise you, money finds you if you've got the right thing. And if people see, and if they believe in you, the money will find you eventually. And what we found is that I know myself personally, just my style, the way that I work. If I've got a lot of money, I waste it. If I've got a little bit of money, I'm very innovative in how I use that money. You know what I mean? Because it's just like you think it through carefully. Whereas if money's thrown at me, just you're like, okay, let's do a campaign there, let's do this, let's do that. I just tend to think that money's quite easy, or easy to get. I personally operate much better when it's tighter. And so don't always think that money's the issue. Just think that get people to believe in what you're doing as an entrepreneur. And sell yourself properly. Selling is such an important element. Yourself, your idea, the people around you have to believe your vision. Think that through carefully, and then people will find you. I promise you that. So I think that was probably my biggest challenge, was trying to get people to accept that. What are you actually doing? Just to put in like a perspective. My wife, when I started out doing this, my wife's grandmother almost disowned me. She thought, she used to tell people I'm in international finance. She's not telling people I'm selling chicken in the sun. Because to her favorite granddaughter was not marrying some oak selling chickens in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? It was like, so, I had such a clear vision of what I wanted to do. And I was enjoying it, that no one could stop me. It's the same as malaria. No one can stop me. We know exactly what we want. We've got lacquer oaks with us, and we're all together. It's like, and
That's great advice.
and you need that. You know what I mean? Because most businesses watch, I can't get money, and But as an investor, do you want to go to people that are passionate and are focused, or do you want to go to people that are just whinging and have got like this broad kind of thing, I would never get money? As I said to you, all entrepreneurs, restaurant guys that come and say, what's holding us back is money. No, build a bloody good offering. And that offering will attract as much money as you want, I can tell you now. So just getting people to believe in, especially on innovation, where you guys are. Most people like me don't understand what the hell you do. They just don't. So you got to put it into almost layman's terms, and then you got to get people to believe in whatever project. And I'm just saying generic, but in technology, I don't know, when guys come and see us for technology, I don't know what they're talking about, unless you can put it into little pictures for us. Make it easy, make it accessible to deaf folks.
But I think that's a very good point. So what I want you guys to be able to do is in 5 minutes explain to anyone, even if it's the most complicated thing, how will you explain it to anyone to understand?
Yeah.
That's a very hard skill.
It's a hard skill. I get guys phoning me up, young entrepreneurs saying, well, I invest in their business. They send me a 3-page document. I'm not going to read 3 pages. It's like, no ways. If the owner tells me this is what I got, 1, 2, 3, say, okay, that looks interesting. Let's have a look at that. And he comes and sees you and he gives you a quick, then you can, it's just focused and talk about an elevator pitch. But the key is get people just to believe in you, and you must believe in yourself. Which I must tell you, I've gone through phases in my life where I didn't believe in myself. I went through depression, just because you lose confidence. Up to even, I stepped out in 2010, I stepped out as the global CEO, and I took a view that I wasn't good as the global CEO, and I wanted to reinvent myself. And that phase of about 18 months, I went through a depression. Not clinical depression, but I went through like a dip in my own way. I lost confidence, and I didn't realize it myself to such an extent, but my people around me said to me, geez, you're not the same, okay. You're like, yes, you're like, and I did it. When I actually look at it, because when you change life, I had to reinvent myself, and I had to restart up, and I'm still involved with Nando's, I'm still doing a lot of cool stuff, but that phase was tough. And so you're going to go through phases of being a little bit self-confident or losing confidence and then gaining confidence, and you've got to try and get a calmness about yourself, but you've got to have a belief that you can do stuff. And even now at Nando's, people say, well, geez, you've achieved a lot. I don't look at what we've achieved, I look at what we failed on a lot of the times. You know what I mean? Because we failed a lot, We've made a lot of mistakes. It's like, there were times that we would need, if I look back at some of the decisions I made, I can cringe. But that's stuff that you can't worry about that stuff. Those are lessons, and you just move on. You know what I mean? So don't ever think, you're a failure or whatever. I mean, it's quite an interesting, and even successful people. I know I've talked to a lot of my mates that have really made a lot of money. There's a self-confidence that everyone loses a bit at times. Eh? So you've got to have self-belief. It's not overly it's like a balance. You can't be overly confident, but at the same time, you've got to believe that, I believe in our malaria project, I believe in what Nando's doing, I believe the art project. I've got absolute belief that whatever we do, we can achieve. It might take us 20 years, but we can achieve it. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of belief that you need to have. Long answer, but
Great answer. More questions from you guys?
No, we were sure. Okay, so you see, there comes a time in your life where you don't have to rely on money, that it's not all about money. Okay, but as you speak, I see you speak about technology changing the future, that the future is technology. So where do you get that, where do you see to stop relying on technology? Because what if it changes in the future? How would you know where to stop relying on technology for your company not to bust when technology actually changes?
I'm not sure, because I think the world today is going to rely on technology forever. I mean, I heard an incredible thing the other day that I don't know the stat exactly, but something like 30% of the jobs are going to be created on things that haven't even been invented today. You know what I mean? So in other words, like 30% of the jobs, we're all depressed about jobs, there are no jobs, and you think of traditional industries, like coal mines and big smelters all going out of business, but they're saying that 30% of jobs are going to be in stuff that aren't invented today. And that's like crazy. And technology, I saw technology the other day for cars communicating with each other, not self-driving cars, but technology that's now coming into cars.
Yeah.
That's going to be fed through to the cloud, that's going to give information on, it's going to take a little car that you got downstairs with a little, like a dongle, but it's actually not going to be a dongle, it's going to be something that's embedded into the car these days. That's going to change the way insurance works, it's going to change the way, it's going to communicate in ways that you've never thought, right? And then they can start communicating with each other. That's crazy. So Oak was showing us some of the stuff, and I'm like, oh boy, where did this thing, and that's going to spur an industry, different kind of business. Then you've got big data, and how do you mine that big data of all this information coming from all the cars? Cars of the future are going to be connected. So every car now is going to be connected. I've got a little BMW battery car, and that's got a connected thing. So they can check exactly where I am at any stage. It's like if you're not scalloping around.
You can look at my phone.
Or even on your phone, people can say, shit, if you really want to track me, I can track you today anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that kind of stuff is going to be the future. And so technology is going to be. There's not even a question in my mind that technology is going to impact our lives. Uber. All that kind of stuff, and that Uber generation now is coming into Airbnb, Uber. They're transforming the way things are done today, and it's just going to get more and more. So we don't, even like 3D printing.
Yeah.
Shit, 3D printing is the most unbelievable thought, and we've looked at that impact on our business. From a food point of view, I think the guys that say you can print a burger or something, but I don't believe that's ever going to be there. But you never know what impact technology is going to have on our business in terms of stuff. We don't know, so we've got to watch it carefully. Yeah. But technology, where you guys are right now, is probably the best place to be in terms of technology. And as I said, I don't know exactly what you guys do. Arlene's tried to explain it many times. but from a point of view of coding or impacting or doing stuff in the space of technology, it's the future. I can promise you. And anywhere in the world, there's opportunities for you guys. And the more creative you can be, you just check the stuff that I saw the other day. Coca-Cola have got an incubator where they've taken 500 companies. They've done like a business thing where you take 500 companies and they select 10. And those 10 they've taken into their system to look at how it's going to impact the Coca-Cola system in the next 25 years. And you will see some of the companies that have come out of that. Yes. Just, amazing stuff. Augmented reality companies that are doing just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's going to impact Coke in the next 10, 15, 20 years. That's the vision that Coke are doing. So you must think, there's such a big world out there. So I'm so optimistic about it. Being out of South Africa, I think, you've got sunshine, you've got, you can also go and operate a little bit here. You can, because there are guys that will try stuff.
Yeah.
You can always, through what you've got here, there's a network. You've got a network that you can pull on, like us or the banks that you're involved in. It's a privilege because you can pull on that network and you make one call to me to say, I've got 3 oaks here that want to do something. We'll try it. You know what I mean? As long as the oaks will work for chicken, we'll try it. You pay for chicken. Chicken and chips.
Chips as well. But I think just by definition of it, I mean, what technology means to me is actually that we don't know how it's going to look. It changes so quickly.
I promise you don't know.
So to
That's
me,
the exciting part.
the skills that you need is to be able to adapt, to be able to learn new things, and to be open to change.
Definitely. And to connect dots.
Yeah.
Connect dots that were seemingly not connected. You know what I mean? We've seen work in malaria. I keep referring back to malaria, but why I'm saying, because malaria has been something that's been stagnant for the years. Like technology in malaria has been forgotten about. No one's really brought technology to malaria. All of a sudden now, you see the technology that's coming, and that technology was basically in cancer research that they've now taken out of cancer research and brought into malaria, that they seemingly disconnected. But some cancer researcher decided, got a bean of bonnet to do some work on malaria, just out of no reason. She was telling me the other day, and she's got a massive breakthrough on some stuff. And it's like, geez, so yeah, And then there's technology in that, the technology that they're working with on that. It's unbelievable, because then it goes to nanotechnology with, this is how they're dealing with the stuff. I mean, it's actually frightening, Sure.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
But you mentioned big data, but I think actually for any company that touches the consumer, you've got access potentially to so much data, and that is so valuable. So you might think you're in the chicken business, but you might end up as being a data company.
You don't know. I mean, it's changing at such a pace for us that when we've got our technology guy, he's explaining to us what we can do and the opportunities. It's almost giddy in terms of what we could do, running promos or connecting with people, or just understanding who our customer is. And we've never had that kind of information. In one way, it's a bit scary. You know what I mean? Because it's, in a way, there's like a personal thing. Like, I don't like the fact that somebody could track where I am. It's just like a personal thing. Not that I do much. It's just like almost intrusive. You think, well, if somebody really wanted to track me, should they have that ability to track me?
You must make sure that you're not important enough that people want to track